That's just for you, my understand, Nkosi. You nearly died when I did that this afternoon. Hi, Jamila. Sabona Kunjani Salam. Good evening. How is everybody this evening? Oh my Lord. This is why I don't want to do Toastmasters at a Toastmasters book launch. Too serious. Too serious. Hell no. I'm going to have to stick around for yarners. They look so very serious when they do their Toastmasters. Yeah, I get scared, I run home. My name is Deborah, and on behalf of Skoobs Theatre of Books, I'd like you to take out your phones, check into Skoobs and like the page. Thank you very much. Tango with Text, who is broadcasting this, and Kim Hunter, who is broadcasting this on YouTube live. Should I scare you? Should I scare them? Yeah, we have about 500,000 followers. It's all good, hey? Only 500,000. So if you don't want to be filmed or anything like that, speak now or forever hold your peace. Finished. For those first timers here, I'd like to just give you a little bit of a rundown. Over the last 18 months, we've done over 200 South African and African authors in the store. 18 months. Wow. Wow. People say to me, let people read. I hate that question. It offends me. Because 85% of those are African writers. The white people, she's not writing very much. Yeah, absolutely. I say it as it is, hey, call a spade a spade. I'm very proud of this fact. And we're the only store in Johannesburg. This is the hottest bookstore in town. And I'd like you to give a round of applause to Annalisa, our guitarist for this evening. Annalisa, my hero. And I'd like to acknowledge some authors in the house tonight: Philippa, Pastor G, Kennedy, Tunita Samuel. They all come here and hold each other up. Euphonic, are you listening to me? I need you to spread the word. Your brother said to me, he wants to do this on it. I have the greatest respect for Njabulo, because he came to me and he said to me, I'm Njabulo Nkosi. Alec, another one of our authors, introduced me to him, and he told me who he was, and we had this talk, and he showed me his book cover, and I took one look at his book cover. Who saw his book cover before this one? It was horrible, hey? And he told me a story. He said to me, Deborah, I want to go to Florida. I'm going to be the best-selling author. I hear this, and I'm on your page now. As I said to Pastor G, so I will never walk in front of you. I will never walk behind you. I shall always walk beside you in your endeavor to get your message out. And the only time I'll ever stand behind you is to catch you when you fall. And he fell. His cover was dreadful. And I didn't realize until the new cover designer, Greg David, said to me, this young man is taking you very seriously, Deborah. And I said, really? He said, yeah, because I say it as it in horrible, and then I give them the soft side of me. And we did this exercise, and I took it downstairs, and I compared, and we do visuals, and I gave it to Greg, and I said, Greg, come here. We've got to help this guy. And he took me seriously. Njabulo really took me seriously, and I'm honored about that. I have a huge respect for you, young man. And section. And if you can do the comparisons yourself. You put it in the business section, you will see this book first. You will not see any other book because of this cover. Greg Davis, you did the most incredible job here. Honestly, I have to give you kudos. Kennedy, are you listening to me? Kennedy? thank you for taking my advice seriously. I'm honoured that you're in my life. I'm so glad that you're in my life. Another big respect, he said to me about 3 weeks later, I have quite a famous brother, but I don't want to leverage off of him. And when he told me who it was, I was like, oh, winner. You know, we need a platform here. When we do this at the launch, I'm going to vocally say and verbally say this, that you are going to, so he can be here and see what's happening, is to get your book out there. This is when you do step up and ask your friends and family who are your support group to get this book out there. All of you tonight, I'd like you to please take a photograph with Njabulo tonight. I can hold a book up and reach 500,000 people. If you take a photograph in this room with this young man with his book, how many people can you reach just in this room? And that's how authors sell books. And this is how we get them out worldwide. Huge respect for you. You are on your own, my friend. I am in awe of you doing this. I am in awe of you standing up. I am in awe of you standing up and taking your own life into your hands. I don't want to go to Florida now, but you know what? You're going to be washed away. So, everybody, give Njabulo Nkosi a round of applause, please! Our newest author! Stay with me, stick with the car, and you are going one way, and that's to the top. So without any further ado, I want you to have fun tonight. I want you to enjoy your evening. I'm going to hand over to your MC for this evening. Mark, give him a round of applause, everybody. By the way, if you think, I don't care who's got the book, you can buy one for a friend. I'm not going out without buying the book. I want these books sold out tonight. We have to stand together, guys. Please, please, please like the page. We do this almost every night, and going forward, Pastor G on the 5th of October is having an author's evening here for those that want to come and join us. Come and join us. Mark, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barbara. I'm very proud of you, young man. I was shaking my head because I thought you were talking to me, but it's all right. And it is true that the cover of the book is quite amazing. And that is just not the cover of the book. That is really Njabulo's life. Because he stands just like the cover of his book. The first time I saw him, after we had some very interesting conversation with Margot teaching us about posture.
Posturing.
Yes, posturing. The first time I saw him, he was across the room and I could see that was a leader. And with time I've learned to trust him. I've learned to be led by him. And we cancel our friendship certificate to a brotherhood certificate. Yay! I really consider him a very close brother. For those who thought who was the famous brother, you can see. Before we get going, I just want you to take this number down, 086, for those who have a pen, 123 794. You don't have a pen. Okay. That's alcoholic, sorry, my bad. Gamblers Anonymous, just in case you want to use any of the facilities we have available for you tonight. And I really am looking forward to what Njabulo has to share with us. And when I say us, it's because I have seen you before. I've seen you on the path that we all travel, in our search for success, in our search for achievement, in our search for recognition. I've seen all of it. And tonight we meet again to get the second part of what we need to get going and to continue and achieve the success that we have to achieve, that we promised ourselves to achieve. And it is for me a great pleasure to ask you to give a big round of applause to Njabulo's family, his parents, very proud parents. Please give them a big round of applause. I mean, it must have been very difficult to raise a child like Njabulo. Just before we get going, I just wanted to let you know that we do have all the possible means to buy the book. Njabulo will be taking cards, I take medical aid and all other modes of payment. But let me tell you a little bit about Njabulo. Njabulo is a business consultant, a certified life coach, an NLP practitioner, and a speaker. A good one, I will tell you that. He has served as Area H5 Director in 2016 and led the area to President Distinguished Area. He has recently completed the highest. He has had success by using pain to define their purpose in order to achieve success. To learn to live holistically, to work to realize leadership potential, to become financially aware, and to find a voice through effective communication. He has an unwavering love affair with leadership and excellence. While at high school, he received the Rev. Angus Peterson Servant Leader of the Year in 2000.
In life, in order for us to reach those goals, raise your hands, please. In fact, say I! I! That's great. Mr. MC, my fellow friends, guests, and my two roommates, mom and dad. When I started out looking out for personal development and leadership, because I was living at home with my two roommates, I managed to save a bit of money. So I decided to go after every single personal development leadership seminar that I could find in order for me to find the answer, what makes a person successful versus a person who isn't successful? What differentiates the rich from the poor, the powerful from the powerless, the educated and the ignorant? And I went on this journey to success. But the main thing for me, if you want to reach your goal, is that you have to have this one day, which I like to call as the day that turns your life around. And that is a day that is characterized by you saying, I'm sick and tired of being in the situation that I am in right now. I'm sick and tired of not having what I'm supposed to have. And that is backed up by an intense action. A certain man finally takes a shotgun to his car. He blows out every window, he destroys every tire, he puts 100 rounds into the shabby old thing, and he says, I have driven this embarrassing thing for the last time. But not only will I never drive it again, but nobody else will ever drive it again. And he lets that shuddering thing stand there as a monument to the day he says, today my life changes. Now who can do this? Anybody. When can you do this? Whatever day you pick. And when people come up to this man and they ask him, how is it that you finally became rich and successful? He'll pull out a picture of this car and say, look at this car. I blew it to smithereens. I was tired of living like this because I had a day that finally turned my life around. When are you going to get to the day that turns your life around? How many of you here, and let's be honest, have ever failed? Raise your hands. Keep your hands up. Say to the person next to you, hi. And then tell them what your name is. And I have failed. And when you failed, why is it that you failed? Zoya.
Because I didn't have a plan.
Didn't have a plan. Gloria, when you failed, why is it that you failed?
Short-term goals.
Short-term goals. Short. Philippa, when you failed, why? What was the reason that you failed?
Because I wasn't looking for the things that I should be doing in my life.
Gretas, when you failed, why is it that you failed?
I didn't know how to do whatever it is I was doing. I was busy learning.
Very cool. Senate Mosh, when you failed, why is it that you failed?
Because I lost focus.
Lost focus. I like answering this question because most people, when they say I failed at something, the reasons they give you are all the same. I didn't have a proper plan, short-term goals, wasn't focused enough, I wasn't committed enough. They'll probably tell you the same things. I didn't have enough money, I did not have enough time, I didn't have the right people, I didn't have the right mindset. And those are all good answers, but they're all wrong. When you failed, it's not that you didn't have the resources, the time, the money, the people, etc. It's because you didn't have the resourcefulness. And what resourcefulness is human emotion. Because when you're committed enough, when you're passionate enough, and when you've got a burning desire enough to get something done, no matter how bad it is, no matter how bad it gets, you are going to get it done. Yes, and the only way, you can clap this. I'll take it. I'll give you a pen afterwards, thank you. Because when you have got this resourcefulness in terms of human emotion, that's when you're going to reach your goals. And the day that turns your life around is characterized by 4 main things. The first one is disgust. When you've got this sick feeling in the pit of your stomach and you say to someone, I've had it! I'm done living like this. Something has to change and has to change right now. The second thing is that you make a decision. When you say, I'm going to change, and I'm going to change right now. The third thing is a desire. There's that saying that if you want something as bad as you want to breathe, then you will have it. Unless you get to that point, you can stop lying to yourself, your family, your friends, and everyone else that you want something, because unless you want it as bad as you want to breathe, you're not going to have it. And the fourth thing is, you can clap the week. I'll take that. And for you as well, seen at the back as well. No, I didn't. It's not rent a car, I didn't. And the fourth thing that characterizes the day that turns your life around is resolve. Saying to yourself that I will not quit, and I will get it until. There was a high school student who was asked, what is resolve? And she said, promising yourself that you will never give up. I don't know where she is now. She's probably giving seminars somewhere with that kind of wisdom. But until you get to the point you can say, I'm going to take the classes until I pass that test. I'm going to go to the gym until I get my fitness goals. I'm going to work hard until I become the person I'm supposed to be. So those are the 4 things that characterizes the day that turns your life around. I can remember the day that turned my life around. I was 12 years old. I had just barely made it past grade 6, and my midterm report was not that pretty. In fact, for one of my assessments, it mentioned that for a maths test, I scored a whopping, amazing 22%. Thank you. I'm here till Thursday. 22%, that means that if I'm counting something, I'm only going to be right 22% of the time. That is why I'm not a chartered accountant, I don't handle finances. Njabulo, let's go for a drive. The fear that went through my body at that moment in time. I said a short prayer to God. I was like, God, please forgive me for all my sins, because I'm going to be knocking at your door momentarily. So we ended up driving. The longest drive of my life. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 and a half minutes, 15, 20, for half an hour. We were driving in Benoni. It's not our fault, it's quite far from here. We were driving to Davidson. And then after half an hour, he finally broke the silence. Njabulo, are you ever going to make it to university? I don't know, Dad. You make it to university because you work hard, not because you're handsome. Then we stopped outside my grandmother's house. We got out the car. I was instructed to get out the car. We got out the car. And then we looked at the grandmother's house. And then he used to tell me stories about when he was in grade 8, for the 4th time. when he was in grade 8 again, and he didn't make it through because he wasn't taking his education seriously, his brothers and his mother, they looked at him and said, right now, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do now? And for him, that was a day that turned his life around. Ever since then, he went on to go to get his degree, his honors degree, his master's degree, his mega bank account, MBA, and he went on to get his doctorate as well. Then we went home, and I cried. I cried like a professional mourner. And then I was disgusted at myself. I made a decision that day, and I had a burning desire, and I made a resolve to say, I'm going to study until I get this right. Now, ever since then, we made it through grade 7 successfully, made it through matric successfully, made it through my first degree successfully, did my honors at Rose University successfully, got my DTM successfully, now successfully published a book. And in order for you to do something like that, it may not be the greatest of all achievement, but it meant the most to me because I was able to look back at that one fateful day that turned my life around. And I look back at this day to elevate myself. I look good, eh? No, it's fine, it's fine. I always use this day to elevate myself because well, things are going to get tougher there, things are going to get hard. But for me, that day back when I was 12 years old, and that drive with my dad struck me so much that I said to myself, I am never going to be the 22% boy ever again. Now this means I have failed before, but not to the point of 22%. But I'm not going to stop because I've had that day that turns my life around. Now, the question that I pose to you is, when are you going to get to that day? Because before you even try to say you want to be successful, you're going to have the day that makes you sick to your stomach where you say, I'm not going to live like this anymore. So that is why I was able to do what I've done. It's not the greatest of all achievements, but this book came from a place of pain because there's an important line that I talk about, and it says, pain causes change. True pain causes change. You can use it in a destructive way or a constructive way. The way you use it is completely up to you. And how you can use it, buy the book, you can find out.
Thank you very much, Njabulo. Isn't he amazing? Yeah. Can we give him another round of applause? We will now have a question and answer session, and I would love to invite my leader, as I call her, Zoya Maputo. I'll just read who Zoya is so that when she walks here, you guys know who she is. So that your applause matches the person that I will. Zoya is the speaker who says, I was born to do this. When we become that which we are destined to be, everything starts to fall into place. In 2020, Zoya made a very big leap out of her comfort zone. She traded her medical aid, a pension fund, for uncertainty, courage, and most importantly, purpose. A year after leaving corporate South Africa, she found herself standing on a world stage inspiring audiences in Las Vegas. She spends her time now as a speaker, master of ceremony, coach and facilitator, living her wildest dreams. Zoya is the current Southern Africa evaluation champion. She's the 2015-2016 public speaking champion and represented the African continent at the World Championship of Public Speaking. She has her own TED Talk entitled, "Using Tradition to Negotiate Our African Identity." She holds a bachelor degree in arts from Rhodes University, a certificate in African thought leadership from the Thabo Mbeki Leadership Academy, a certificate in leadership from the Gordon Business Institute of Business, and is an accredited organizational design facilitator. She has spoken at numerous conferences, locally and abroad. Her mission is to reignite the fire in each and every one of us as we strive to make our country and our continent a safe place for women and for girls to thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Zoya Matita.
Thank you very much, Ma. So now I have to figure out how I'm going to manage this chair in this outfit. Please, can I sit on one of those? In the meantime, can I call Njabulo up to join me on the platform? Let's give him another round of applause. So because he's the man of the moment, I'm comfortable with him being up here, but I don't think it's going to work. Yeah. Okay, so first up, thank you very much to Mark for that wonderful introduction. I do want to say that everything he said about me is true. So thank you very much for that, Mark. And then I'd like to say a special thank you to Njabulo for asking me to come through tonight and to play this role where I will be, you know, having a question and answer session with him about this wonderful book. As an intro, when Njabulo asked me if I would facilitate the Q&A, a series of questions went through my own mind. Why me? And after a bit of introspection, reflection, the question that followed was, why not me? Because we're young, we're doing amazing things, and I think it's important that we celebrate each other and we recognize the work that we're doing. So up front, I want to say thank you to you for seeing me and the work that I do. I certainly commend the work that you're doing. Okay, so we've just listened to that wonderful story by Njabulo, where Njabulo says to us that, you know, he got to a point where there was a turning point. In fact, the words he uses are, pain causes change. And so I'm going to ask you to elaborate on the point that you just spoke to earlier. And the question, or the first question is, you talk about this particular point in your life where there was a turning point, right? This awakening of sorts. And you refer to that moment traveling with Udedi in the car as being a catalyst for that. Perhaps the question based on this is, what would you say to somebody who is walking the road, who says, I want to become a successful person, I want to work on some of the challenges that I have, but I just haven't gotten to that turning point. I'm still walking along and I'm stumbling and I'm struggling. Having been there, having experienced the turning point, what's the one thing you would say to that person who's sitting in this very audience today?
Thanks, Zoya. That's an interesting question. Thank you very much for all the work that you've been doing and for actually agreeing to do this, because I was a bit nervous to approach you, because of your woman of your stature. But thank you very much for agreeing to do this. The question, if someone was to ask me, I'm walking this journey, but I haven't gotten to the point where it's like a burning desire, where I actually want to be successful, and I'm just walking along and just plodding along. It comes down to somewhere I wrote just after pain causes change, that you have to like start with why. What is the reason that you're actually doing this? Because it's saying that if the why is strong enough, the how actually doesn't matter. And a lot of people, they say that I don't have a struggle, or I don't have something that I'm working towards. Oftentimes you find that's not necessarily true, because everyone, if they were to search deep enough, they'll find that there's actually something that they can use as a catalyst to propel them towards being successful. And the more you actually search for that main reason, the more you're actually going to find it. I was blessed with two parents, well educated, well driven, and they disciplined us a lot growing up. Like a lot, eh? They disciplined us a lot. My brother and sister can attest to the discipline that we got. And from my side, it was more, I was just going through the motion, just going through the classes, just going through doing the maths and etc. And then I wasn't actually taking my education quite seriously. And then when I had that conversation with my dad, he stresses that there are only 3 things that can change your life. Only 3. Education, education, education. And he stressed that he hit it home. And I just was like, I'm actually tired of being the person, when they read out the top achievers, like the top 10, you're not even in the second half of the top 20. So then I just got tired of that and said, listen, there's no reason that I can do well as they did. And so for a person asking the question, you need to look at deep inside. What is it the main reason? Is it for your mom? Is it for your dad? Is it for you to prove something to yourself? Is it to make the country better? But it has to actually be something that if you picture a world and it's not actually happening, and it's painful that the world's not that way, then that's a pain that you can actually use. What I say is actually look for it and actually take time and spend time on it. It's not something that you can just get in 5 minutes. You have to look for it.
Thank you very much. I see people are listening intently, which is great, but I want to encourage you at this point, if there are things that our wonderful author does say that you'd like to note. There's a wonderful public speaker who says what gets recorded gets rewarded. So oftentimes some of the gems come up in this conversation and you're sitting somewhere else and you want to remember, what did Njabulo say on that day? So I'm inviting you at this stage to take out your notebooks and your pens and to really just, record these gems that we're hearing Njabulo share with us. Okay. So on to a follow-on question. As I'm listening to you share, you talk about your parents and how they were disciplinarians, and we all giggle in the audience because we know what that means. But talk to me about the importance of a support structure, the kind of support that you had on this journey. So you've got this wonderful mom and dad, a testament to the fact that they're still walking the journey, supporting you. What was that like? And share with us how important that was in this journey for you.
Thanks for the question. It's paramount. My mom always said that regardless, in fact my parents, they both stressed that regardless of how well things could go out there, and no matter how great your friends are, or your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, whatever the case is, never ever forget your nuclear family. Your mom, your dad, your brothers and your sisters, because at the end of the day, for example, if I were to go to prison today, pretty much a lot of people will not be there to visit me, which is the harsh reality, but I know that a handful of people will be there without fail, which is mom, dad, brother and sister. And not only is that important, if you go to the organization that we're in now, Toastmasters International, even if you want to be a good speaker, good leader, you get assigned your mentor, you have people that you look up to, and they're the people to help you, to guide you and support you in the journey that you're walking. And even if, as being an author, I thought I was going to do this all myself, and then I learned the hard way. You can't really do things myself. I see you're smiling there, thanks. That you can't do things yourself. I approached Deborah, and what you see today is because of the support that she actually gave me. And the thing is that when people who are looking from the outside, they see things that you won't necessarily see, because you're biased, you like to have the highest of yourself, which is a good thing. Sometimes it can be detrimental because you may not see the flaws that they actually see, and when they give you that feedback, most of the times it comes from a really good place, and we sometimes would take it as harsh criticism, but at the end of the day, it's criticism that wants to help build you. And discipline is a form of feedback to saying, you're playing with fire, you're going to get burned, hence you get disciplined so that you won't do it again. That's what a support structure is there for, whether it be your nuclear family, and if that's not really there are those close friends and those few people who are really invested in you unconditionally, not because what you can give them, but just because of the person they are around you. So that's very, very paramount. So in anything that you want to do, your career, job, business, whatever the case is, you need that inner circle, you need that guidance. And I've learned the hard way and cost myself time and unnecessary stress by trying to do things by myself, whereas in other people who are there to elevate you and support you. It's very important. Actually, there's a chapter about relational wellness where I say that you are the company that you keep. My mom said to me that if you hang around 9 negative people, you're going to be number 10. So she said keep the right people around you. And and also there comes a time where it's actually okay if you've been friends with someone for 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years, because of the journey that you're on, they might not necessarily want to have to be on that journey with you. Not necessarily they're a bad person, but because you feel lives are going different ways. And that's sometimes a hard thing to realize and to differentiate if the person is there because just for the sake of holding on, or because you want to grow. And I learned that lesson 3 years ago when I had to find someone. But hey, that's the story.
I suppose before I move on to the next question, I'm going to take a moment just to recognize, first of all, Mom and Dad, and to thank you for the role that you've played. I know that Njabulo will do that separately, but I think it's important. But there are also Toastmasters in this space, and I'm also a member of Toastmasters. I want to also just, say hey to the Toastmasters in the audience, because I know that this is an organization where people really do give, that kind of support. So we see you and we recognize you certainly. So one of the things you mentioned is that there are things that you would never have anticipated on this journey. And one of those was realizing and learning the lesson that no man is an island entire of himself. So this need to be surrounded by a group of people, one, who are wanting to get to the same place that I'm wanting to get to, so not surrounding myself with negative people. We see the book, Inspired Success. We see the man. He looks absolutely wonderful. Take us through some of the lessons that you learned along the way. So those things that we don't see today, because we see the complete package and it looks brilliant. Take us through those things that were niggling, that were challenging, as you made your way to what we see today.
There are a lot of them. First, I would say that the little things really matter. Someone I used to work with said that the beauty is in the detail. If you miss the small things, it can actually end up costing you along the way. And one of the things that I actually was challenging for myself is dealing with elements of self-belief, self-doubt, competitive nature, unfairly competing with other people who are not walking the same path with you, which is why the definition of success that I found struck home with me, because success, sometimes we define success by how many. It's a tongue twister, but we define success by how much money we have, how many awards we have, how much notoriety we have, how many books we've written. And all these superficial things, all of those things, they're just results. They are always the results. However, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It means that you are doing the things in life that you're doing because you have always wanted to do them inherently. And if, for example, if you're a mother and you're raising children, you want them to be world leaders, you want them to be disciplined, and that's exactly what you've always wanted to do, and you're doing that progressively, then by definition you are successful. Versus if you go into the medical profession, or you go from being an artist, a poet, whatever the case is, and you become a multi-millionaire, billionaire, all these awards, but all you've wanted to do is just be a teacher. And you followed a different path because that's what other people said you must do. then quite harshly you are a failure. And it's harsh truth, but something that I learned. And for having to learn that, it means that the need for competition is negated. It means there's no competition whatsoever, because what you want is different from what I really, really want, inherently want, according to what you actually value. Is different from me, different from you, it's different to Margot, it's different to everyone here. And that was one of the biggest things that I was struggling to actually get. I was like, this person is doing better than me, but are they really doing better than you? And there are places where you are excelling, where they're not excelling. But if there's a person who's living their truth, so to say, then they're really successful. So that was the major thing. Then I asked myself, okay, so what is it that gets me up really in the morning? And I came across, back in 2014, I came across a teacher, Dr. John DiMartini. He always starts his talks off by saying that every single one of us has a hierarchy of values. The things that are most important to us, the things that are least important to us. The things that are most important to us, we gravitate towards, we're inspired from within to go and do. But the things that are lowest on our values, we frustrate, hesitate, we get depressed, because that's not inherently what we wanted to do. And we need to define our values by how we spend our money, how we spend our time, and actually getting to the point where you actually understand what makes you tick is the hardest element in the journey of success, because there's so many things. We live in an Instagram generation, we live in a Facebook generation where we like to compare and benchmark ourselves against other people, but actually finding what actually makes you successful was the hardest journey. And then the second most thing is being authentic to that and living that out and not looking at other people's judgments, which is something that all of us have struggled with at some point in our lives. And actually, because when I started finding out what I wanted to do, certain friends would have to go to the west side because I'm chasing something. And then they would say, no, you're a coconut because you speak English well. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with speaking English well.
Yes.
Nothing wrong. You're studying hard over time. I said, there's nothing wrong with studying hard over time. I'm not going to be a 22% guy anymore, so that's why I'm studying. Listening to different tapes, videos, and I'm just walking a different path. And the hardest part was, because it is, at the end of the day, success is a lonely journey. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's a very lonely journey, because you have to separate yourself from a lot of people, find your truth and walk that out. And then once you are on that journey, on that path, then certain people will fall into place for you. And that was some of the toughest things that I had to face going as a high school student, a university student, young graduate, even to today. So those are some of the things that really struggled with to get to this point.
Wow. It's so profound for the young men that you are, that you've almost come to realizations that even adults haven't yet come to. So, I find it incredibly inspiring. It reminds me actually of something one of my mentors likes to say about how, as you're becoming successful, sometimes you have to have the courage to leave the tribe behind. And that's just what it is. And that along the way, you will connect with the right people who are walking a similar journey. So I'm very inspired by what you just said. Okay, so I think we've been a bit serious, and it's almost time to wrap it up. So I will ask you, I'm sure there was a very funny moment at some point in this journey. Something either going terribly wrong or something going in a way you hadn't expected. Share one funny moment that comes to mind about walking this journey.
Jeez, a funny moment. I can't think of a funny moment really. It was painful, guy. It was really funny moments. Posturing. But no, the fact that funny story, the funny moment, Margot will share later on. In terms of a funny moment, light moment, maybe I was a bit sadistic at this. Okay, so there was there's nothing funny about this, but maybe it was. We were talking about friends that we leave behind in the pack, and they would always ridicule me, saying that, you think you're better than us, you studying hard, making all these excuses. And then I got what I wanted to get, and then this person got excluded from university, got expelled, and things were really tough with them. And then I upfront laughed at him in his face. I was like, yeah, you better get yourself together. Yes, because you were busy laughing at me. So I died at him inside. So that maybe that was a sadistic moment for myself, but it was like kind of like revenge is sweet, isn't it? Yes. Especially when I got my first paycheck, I'm like, let me buy my drinks, thank you. This is one for my homie. Sorry. It was sweet revenge. That was the one, yeah, when I was a successful university finally, I was like, I'm gonna have a drink just for him. So, yeah, that was
Okay. So it's an interesting title, and I agree that it's an absolutely beautiful cover. Talk to me about this title, Inspired Success. Who was this book written for?
Okay. Question number one, Inspired Success. When I started on the journey of like writing this book, I told you I talked briefly about Dr. John DeMartini, and he talked about inspiration, hierarchy of values, and I was like, what problem do I want to solve? I'm like, I just really want to be successful, but I don't know what success is. Because when you go to these seminars, everyone says the same thing. What do you want to do? I want to be successful. What do you want to do? I want to be successful. What do you want to do? I want to be successful. What does that mean? Okay, you want to be successful. What does it mean? You want to be successful. What is it? No one actually knows what success is. So I'm like, okay, fine. That has to be in the title. And then I read one of Dr. DeMartini's books, and it's called Inspired Destiny. So I'm like, all right, I've got my title. One called Inspired Success. And they feed into each other because you can't be successful unless you're inspired by something. And so they both kind of, the title kind of like leads into each other. And who this book was written for, this book was as a result of a dare. A mentor said to me after I've been to all these places, and he said to me, write a book. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to write about. He was like, you're a young man, you are smart, you're intelligent, and if I was not a male, I'd say, go as far as to say that you're pretty, but we'll leave that for the female counterpart. So I was like, okay, I'll write it, and then I went to a book writing seminar, and then I was like, I've got the structure now. And then who this book was written for, it was written for, it's funny enough, when I actually finished it, and I got the first one with the not so pretty cover, I was at a point in my life, I'm like, wow, this book, I felt I wrote it for myself in the future. But more importantly, it's all those people who feel a bit lost. They don't know what success is, they don't know how to live holistically. It's not to say that I've mastered the art, but I have found answers from top people who've been around there, from my own personal experiences. So it's written for pretty much everyone who wants to be successful, like really successful. But I have a particular passion for those who are high school, who are still in university, and young graduates, because I can actually relate to them, because I had a day that turned my life around when I was 12, and had all these troubles when I was in high school because I was differentiating myself. In university was the same thing, and working and finding out what you actually want. So those are the people that I actually want to reach out. Everyone who is, those people who are young and those people who are young at heart, that's who the book is for. And it also hit home 2 days ago when I was saying, I was actually preparing for today 2 days ago in the afternoon, and then my dad brought someone to the house and said, okay, this young man, about 20 years old, he wants you to help him with his CV. So I'm like, okay, I'll put something together. And then I had a discussion. I think it was his uncle, his dad, his father figure was there. And then he showed me his matric results, and I was like, yo, yo. He's gonna have to go do that again, because it actually struck home, because we have a real crisis in the country when it comes to education, not just normal, just like formal education, going to school, but your self-education, figuring out who you are, how you're going to grow, how you're going to learn. And that actually struck home, because I mean, that young man, unless he does something about those results, not to say the matric results and degrees are the end or be all, but in this country, it's a starting point for you to get yourself on your feet. And then, I mean, even from your own experiences, your time from Rose University helped shape you to who you are right now, even though you're not in formal employment. But that's a good base, because it teaches you how to think and how to work. And I was actually afraid for him in my heart. I was trembling inside. I'm like, you need to have a day that turns your life around. So those are the people that I've got a particular passion for, that when I have a conversation with them, I'm able to connect with them because I know what you're going through, and I'm not going to say that I'm perfect because I'm more willing to tell you where I've failed. But I was able to find something that can get me to a good place in life, and those are the people who that's the kind of target market, if you put it in business terms, that I have a particular passion for. But at the end of the day, it's for people who want to find what true success is. I still am on a journey. It's progressive. It'll take me till the day I die. So hopefully that answers your question.
I don't know how much more time we have, Mr. Timekeeper. Is that it? Okay. So I am going to say thank you very much to Njabulo. I think we've all gotten tidbits of what this journey was, what it involved, that it wasn't an easy journey, but it was a purpose journey, certainly. And so thank you very much for sharing those gems. Everything else that you want to find out is in the book. I have a copy. It's a testament to the fact that everything else is in the book, so please get yourself a copy. Thanks once more, and over to you, Mr. MC.
Thank you very much, Zoya. And you heard Njabulo himself telling you how he used to make fun of his friends. For a small fee, I can tell you more stories outside. And now you eventually understand why his parents were disciplining someone like him. I've compiled a list of 4 people that I believe have contributed to the life of Njabulo. And they will have I will ask them to say something about Njabulo, just for people to get to know him a little bit more. In no particular order, can I please have in the front, Alec Chindapi? Alec? Oh, hi. Yes, come to the front. Katleho? Yes, you. Bradford? Yes, I'm not another one. Right, it's easier, yeah. And finally,
it's the other one.
Other girl.
Okay. You said it wasn't me. I'm so excited.
What?
You said it wasn't. He's ran.
Hi everyone, Alec. It's been yes. It's been a great pleasure and joy watching Njabulo go on his journey. So I worked with Njabulo 2015. And I do have to say he was one of the more interesting teammates that I've worked with, quite ambitious, especially for somebody who had just started working. It was actually quite disturbing, his level of ambition and his 5-year plan, and it was quite detailed. I even felt embarrassed with my own 5-year plan. But I do have to say he did serve as motivation and inspiration as he was writing the book, because at the same time, I also returned from a trip and was thinking of writing a book. And a lot of the do's and don'ts and how to go through the book writing process I actually did learn from Njabulo as he was going on his journey. So for a man so young, he does have a lot of wisdom. I always used to think that wisdom is found in grey hairs, and he's serving as a model of wisdom being found in a handsome young man. So it is a great joy and pleasure to watch him, to take one of these steps. I know as you're talking about success, and, this is not a, it's a point in the road to a destination unknown, and we're just here to celebrate that, and I'm very grateful to be part of the journey with you. Well done.
Hi guys, I'm Katleo. I'm gonna kill you. because I told him that I don't want to make a speech ever, and here I am. So I worked with NJ. I was his little intern in 2015, and that's when I got to know the incredible guy that he is. And he's really worked hard to get to where he is right now. And he inspired me as well to really do well in varsity, and he did great. And he's also inspired me to achieve a lot of my goals. So, I mean, this guy is going to really go far in life. And I really, truly do believe that. And I remember fighting with him, yes, a lot, when he decided that he wanted to focus on work instead of actually focusing on this book and his goals. So I'm very proud of you for sticking to the plan. And you still have a long way to go, but congrats, and yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, so I'm not really sure why I was called up at all. Okay. I thought he has a far better pool of candidates in this room apart from me. So I've only known Njabulo for about approximately 4 months. 4 months. And in that time he's acted as a mentor to a mentor to me, a leader to our group. And I won't lie, he has in fact inspired me to do some very interesting and quite brave things, at least for me, things. He got me to get up speaking for the first time. Got me to try a very brave topic that's coming soon, tomorrow maybe. He got me interested in actually he's inspiring me right now to actually write my own book about something, but just need to figure out what I want to write about first. And I just want to say thank you for being the person you are. I hope you inspire a lot more people, and that you next time pick better people to speak at these type of things. I look forward to actually reading his book. I was one of those who purchased his book. I'm so far very far in. I've read the cover page, and I'll go from there. Thank you.
Good evening. It's a very big privilege for me to actually be standing here. Njabulo, you walked into my home. I was their division director, and I got 5 guys under me. And I took a look at them all on the first night of our meeting, and they walked in, and they sat down, slumped into their chairs, and I looked at this and I thought, when you get onto a stage, you've got to own it. Right? Like this. Okay? That's my first lesson. The first lesson was posturing. Does anybody know what posturing means? Pardon? I'll show you what happened when I taught Njabulo to posture. Posturing is taking an attitude that you are worthy of what you're doing. Is that lovely? Beautiful. So what do? You have to dress the part, you have to take the part, and you have to take that leadership role. Brilliant. I love it. Njabulo, I said to him, right, now when you walk into a room, you stand tall and you own the room and the people, and they love you for it. Because you can trust me now. Hey, if I walk in here and go, so, Njabulo, we go to a meeting at Golden Gallery about 10 days later, and this, he's not just a pretty face, he knows how to posture. He walks like this. I'm sitting in a chair. I'm towards the ground and I say, Njabulo, what are you doing? Oh, the girl's eyes. My jaw's on the floor. And he says, Mother, I've been practicing posturing. I couldn't help but fall into a homie, I call him now, one of my soul group. I have a few of them. Mark is one of them as well. There are a lot of people in this room. from Toastmasters, who are my soul group, my friends. They've supported us all the way. We've learned in Toastmasters, we support you to become competent communicators and effective leaders. My journey with Njabulo, he asked me to write in the front of his book. I said, with pleasure. I lecture speech and drama for the Trinity College of London, so people can do English and all those university courses through me, and I've loved every minute of it, because like Njabulo, I was born a passionate, expressive. We need to share, we need to be of service to people. And his year as area director was last year. 2 months I don't hear from him. And where the? What the? I phone him and say, where are you? He says, I found excuses. I said, nah, where are you? We need to meet. That was the day he turned around as an area director. Our division became President's Distinguished. His area became President's Distinguished. And he came fourth in the district as an area. How's that? Yeah, now he's doing all these things. Letting our clubs in. We keep each other humble, because I believe good leadership serves and is humble. I believe that great spirits serve, that's what we're here for. Njabulo is going to serve lots of people to success, but you only hit success when you've had the hard times. How much resilience do you have to be a great being? That's my aim. And that is what all the failures are about. You never fail. You create, through your attitude, a beautiful being that serves mankind. And that's Toastmasters. Njabulo is going to do that. He's already done it. I am so proud. What do you call him? Your homie and your brotherhood. I'm part of that brotherhood. I look masculine. And I honor you for who you are, what you're becoming, the journey you're taking for your being, and for being Njabulo and Nkosi. Give it to the world. Thank you, Njabulo.
You got your swag on lockdown. Move over, D. Martini. You know it. We spoke about it. That is your stage, Njabulo. That is your stage. And I want to leave all of you with something tonight. My education did not come from an educational institution, and I speak to all of the authors tonight. No educational institution could have given me the education that I have received in my life from the books that I have read. I read 300 books a year, and my education comes from the authors that have written those books, and I thank them for my education this evening. Mr. and Mrs. Nkosi, I couldn't agree with you more. And you have now joined the ranks of being an educator. And that I thank you for. And I cannot wait to read it, because I only got my copy for every day. But I'm glad I've got it. And you have now come to the ranks of educating others. And that's a big step in a big direction. And educating grey hairs. Who said grey hairs? Mina Wina's got blue. Blue. Thank you, Njabulo, Nkosi, James, Nkosi, for having your launch at Skoobs. I applaud you, I honour you, and I'm so pleased that you're in my life yet again. Kia ora and tuana.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Just before we go to the signing of the book and the buying of the book, we'll have time to take pictures with Njabulo. I just want to thank you for allowing me to be the MC to this event. And whatever has been said tonight has really been true. My personal experience, I don't know, for those who do not know what the area director is, it's actually a president of 5 presidents who are leading 20 people each. You cannot fire them, you cannot give them instructions, but you need to get them to do things they don't want to do. And the only way to do it is to inspire them to do it. So to lead 100 people to achieve such objective without having the power to fire them, I think that deserves a round of applause. And I remember when I signed up to be an area director, after him, I went to him and I asked him, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to teach them? He looked at me, and the wisdom that came out of there was just out of this world. Apart from the nonsense we spoke about before, but what he said at the end was very important. He said, you can teach them what you know, but you will only reproduce who you are. And that really hit me home big time. And I hope that you will all be joining us signing at the signing of the book. Get the book, and I look forward to seeing you guys again on that journey of success that we all are on. Thank you very much.